Welcome, everyone. This is the Vertical Reading Room, and we're excited to have you here today. We're being presented in part by the Horror Writers Association, the Los Angeles chapter, and Vertical Life magazine as part of the Fall 2020 Book Fest. Please go to the Book Fest website, www.thebookfest.com, and find out about all the wonderful writers and conferences and things that we'll be doing the weekend of October 24th and 25th. Again, that website is www.thebookfest.com. So we decided to do, at the reading room, we decided to get some of our writers together who would love to read little excerpts of their book to our audience. Let's jump into it right away. I'd like to welcome Mark Wallace Maguire. And Mark, tell us about The Last Wizard.
Yes, and I have a copy right here. So
Okay.
I love the cover on this one especially.
Yes, right, I do too.
It's called The Last Wizard at the End of the World.
Okay.
And it's a sequel to In Pursuit of the Pale Prince. Mm-hmm. It's kind of a mix between a straightforward fantasy and a young adult fantasy. Mm-hmm. The first book in the series, In Pursuit of the Pale Prince, was a kind of a coming of age fantasy. I was greatly inspired as a young reader by the Chronicles of Narnia, the Lord of the Rings, those classic books. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to write something that a 11-year-old young man or young woman could read. Okay. But then also something that one could read if you're 40 or 50 and you don't want all the Game of Thrones, for lack of a better term,
right,
graphic descriptions. I'll put it that way. Mm-hmm. So, but it's a story where our hero, young Orestes, is living comfortably, as we often do in life, at 16 summers old, and goes on another adventure with his best friend, and they are shipwrecked on an island on the verge of war, and their only hope is a wizard who's been exiled. And so Orestes is volunteered to go and try to fetch him in time.
Okay. All right. So one more question before I let you start reading this excerpt. Who did the covers for The Pale Prince and this book too? Because I really do like these covers on these two books.
Great, thank you. And both of these covers, they were a combined effort of myself and an illustrator in Argentina.
Wow.
Yes, a few good things about technology.
Right.
But his name is Exogenesis, mm-hmm. And I did a rough map, how I saw the world in my head.
Okay.
But I wanted a real professional illustrator.
All right.
And, he obviously had the skills to bring that to life. And then I added my own, creative flair with the fonts and brightening some of the colors. But it was a good team effort, but I've got to give credit where credit's due.
Right.
And I've been very happy with these last two book covers because I love maps. And
yeah,
when I see that, I go, ooh, I'm going to go find that place.
Yeah, I love maps too. And I think that book covers is an important feature of a book, because actually when I'm hanging out in a bookstore, that's what usually draws me to the book is the cover. And then I'll look on the back of it and, kind of peruse through it. So great on the book cover. I think it's fantastic.
Thank you so much. Okay. Thank you very much.
So I'm going to cut out and I'm going to let Mark read an excerpt, and then we'll come back and talk to Mark a little bit more. Thank you, Mark.
Great. Thank you so much. I'm going to read an excerpt from The Last Wizard at the End of the World. And as I had mentioned, the story opens up rather. Young Orestes, our hero, he lives comfortably in the kingdom of the Pale Prince until his friend Siren embarks on yet another adventure, this time across the seas. The pair shipwreck on the island of Hollowell, a kingdom on the brink of war. Their only hope is an exiled wizard who lives at the end of the world. But can Orestes reach him in time? So the part I'm going to read right now begins as Orestes is sailing towards the end of the world, the great end of their world, where the ocean turns to the deep blue and silver and then ice, and nothing more is known in this fictional world. So this opens up with him sailing with his pet wolf, Sasha, more of a companion rather than a pet. And this is as they crest through the seas. I write very short chapters. It's a quick note. So I'm not going to stop each time I begin a new chapter, but I'll read a continued narrative. It's written in first person. And I use some words that are not used in contemporary English language. I'm a fan of Old English and some of the lost dialogues, Middle English, Slindock, some Old Irish. So if you hear words like blueth, it is intentional. All that said, let's jump in. I had seen icicles clinging to the eaves of my home in the wood, and I had poked my fingers through the icy sheened ponds that visit us in winter. But I did not know ice could be so large without something to cling to. These were the things the Hallowellians called ice islands, and we were sailing into a sea covered with them. Chunks of small, jagged, floating islands of cruel ice. Quick sailing bergs, no taller than a man. They enchanted Sasha, my wolf. They baffled me, and I found myself lowering our sail and slowly steering our way between them with oars, worried they would cut our small ship into bits. I would slip by one, and then another would loom over each wave. I found myself dizzy, trying to navigate the crude passages of water between the bergs. Our boat would batter against the edges, and I grimaced, worrying our hull would be sliced. But we bounced off their edges and floundered forward. I began to wonder if I had sailed us off course, and we had passed the island, and were now going to be stuck in ice at the edge of the world. Finally, we crested a small wave, and the sea opened to empty waters. Then I saw it. A tower-like defiant finger stuck up to the sky, white and smooth, ivoried. At its peak, it was crowned with a small papyrant. Even this far away, I could see smidges of blueth and black smoke curling from its peak. I had expected more of a regal island, a land filled with strong trees and formidable buildings, luscious gardens, wild beasts or looming walls. But this parcel of land was small. It was treeless, a stony thumbnail of an island with thin bits of grass beaten by the wind and salt. The tower was the lone building, and there was no dock. There were no boats. A half-dozen greyhounds whisked and whirled across its barren surface. Fur sleek and legs thin skittered on the barren soil. As soon as they saw us, they began barking in an unholy chorus that severed the still air. Sasha trotted to the bow of our ship, eyed them all, and lifted her snout to the sky and let loose a wonderful long howl that shook the very timbers of our boat. The reply was silence. There was no dock, not even a grin of a bay. So I had to sail my boat as easy and slow as I could to the shore and hope to the gods it did not crash upon the thick boulders that guarded the land. I spied a sliver of beach and brought us in as slow as possible. When our hull bounced off the boulders, I did not hear even the slightest give of wood and breathed, a sigh as the boat eased onto a slippery spit of sand. I threw our anchor over and listened. The greyhounds retreated to the far end of the island as our feet hit the lifeless sand, and nothing but the wind whistling in our ears greeted us. As we approached the tower, A few of the hounds would run out to challenge us. Then Sasha would give a low growl, and they would yelp and run back to the pack. She had courage and strength, and they could sense it. I only hoped I could have a taste of her power when I met the wizard. No imposing carvings of man or beast or ancient runes from the burned lands were carved on the door of the tower. There were no torches lit or bleached bones or other wild symbols from my imagination guarding the entry. A simple wooden door with a rusty keyhole and handle stood like a sullen mouth against the white rock. I had discarded the tunic and armor of the Taurians. I had Coalbiter, my sword, at my side, my shield on my back. I ran my head over my cloak and wiped my eyes, cleared my throat, licked my lips, raised my fist, and knocked on the door, my heart beating in my ears. I heard a voice on the wind, a garbled mess of words caught in the high skies. I looked up, squinted my eyes against the glare of gray, and saw a head leaning over the edge of the tower. I should have raised my shield, crouched into the defensive position, the way my friend Siren had taught me. But I was too curious, so I strained my ears to decipher the words. The wind took a deep breath before raging again, and all went quiet but the words from the tower. I said, if you're going to come in, come in. Then the head disappeared behind the crown of the tower. I pushed on the door and walked into a room of half darkness and deep shadows, tasting of lost candlelight. A chorus of candles lazily lit the room, empty but for 2 chairs and a bed covered high in a swath of tattered blankets. Shelves ringed the walls. One shelf held a jumbled mass of animal skulls. On another one, big bones from the leviathans and black sharks lay. The rest were filled with shards of stone, potted plants with bright tendrils, and scrolls piled high and heaped on top of each other. A winding staircase hugged the walls, running upwards to the top. A small fire puttered in the center of the room, lit by neither branch or bramble. My eyes rested again on the bed where the mound of blankets lay, piled thick and high. I peered closer. Something about them disturbed me, even more than the grinning skulls and the fire that burned without tinder. My hand tightened on my sword, but all was silent and still, except for Sasha's panting. My eyes turned back to the staircase, the cold rock calling to me to ascend upwards into the unknown. Well, Sasha, I muttered, I suppose we should go to the top and find our wizard. I heard a rustle behind me. I turned, raising Coalbiter, but saw nothing but the bed and the blankets. Then a voice came from the pile of blankets. I see your sense of perception is strong, and you are quick on your feet, but not strong enough. It was the voice of a young man, not deep or wind-burnt. It was rich, but it was weary. The voice had come from the blankets. Then 2 oval eyes appeared in the pile, green. I raised my sword higher, almost to shield myself, then prepared to strike. Who are you? Show yourself. Such confidence from an outsmarted opponent, the voice came back. Then the blankets themselves moved and seemed to come alive, twisting and shifting and falling to the floor, and a man emerged, clad in a blueth coat the color of the deep waves. Great curls of red hair sprang from under a worn hat the color of sand. A great red beard curled on a white face, where the gleaming eyes met mine. And I'll leave it right there.
That was great. That was really great. And you're a great reader too, Mark. You're a great reader. So I'm looking forward to showing you on the reading room. And tell me some of the things that you're doing in Georgia. I know you're involved in some other things for writers. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, I've, in addition to wonderful events like these with my brothers and sisters across the nation, I've been able to give back a lot locally. I did a virtual writing class with the Fayette County Library here south of Atlanta this summer. 3 weeks ago, I did an event called Hometown Novel Nights with the Noonan Carnegie Library, where we had a group of author panels.
Okay.
And this week, it's been a very busy fall, praise God. This week, I'm part of the Peachtree City Library Virtual Author Fest.
Okay.
So, I enjoy teaching, especially young people. I don't know what's happened in my brain the last few years, but writing
Right.
stories for younger folks. And I just enjoy teaching what I have to children and in the community as well, because
Okay.
I told someone, I said, it's a bad joke, but seriously, if I'm in a nursing home in 20 years, I want a good book to read.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. But I think it's great. I think that even though we're going through the whole COVID thing, I think that we've had some great opportunities for 2020. I think that even though we've done a lot of things virtually, it actually has brought neighborhoods and communities together. I know in our community it has. And so I'm just looking forward to sharing it. Usually when I'm doing my radio programs, authors send me books. And so it was really funny the first part when COVID first started, I had all these books. And I was like, okay, so I put a thing on my Nextdoor app that has our neighborhood, and I just said, okay, so who loves to read? I'll drop the book off in your garage, or whatever. Just tell me. And so I got rid of a lot of books that way. So, yeah, yeah, so it was really great because I had an opportunity to do that, and we're looking forward to actually being able to do our workshop for young adults this summer. And doing some writing. So I hope we can kind of draw you into maybe a online workshop with them.
Yes.
Yeah,
I'd be
most
honored.
definitely.
Anything that Vertikal's involved in, I just think the world of.
Thank you so much. So we're going to have an interview though. Another interview is coming up. I just know it because I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, Mark is really doing it with these books.
Hey, I'm trying.
That's great. That's great. Well, Mark, thank you so much for being on our program today. I really appreciate it. Once we get everything edited and actually have it ready to be online, we'll share it with you.
Great.
And you'll be able to see it. And I'm excited.
Great. And
Okay.
I'll share it everywhere and then some more places.
Yes, yes.
And thanks again. I'm sorry I was a couple of minutes late. The Ethernet bugged out. I'm like, are you kidding me? It's 5:25 and now I've got to run back in here. And so thanks for your grace.
Right, right. Well, say hello to the whole family, and
I will.
you guys take care, and I really appreciate you, and we'll be talking soon.
Great. Do you mind if I get a quick screenshot to put up on social media of us?
Sure.
Okay. Well, you know me, I like to do the preview, the event, and the review. So
Okay.
if that works for you.
Yeah, that really does. It does. So how do I do the screenshot, or do you do the screenshot?
I'm doing it right now. You want to do another one?
There it goes. Yeah, do another one, and you can send me one.
Okay. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you, Mark.
All right. Take care.
You too. Take care. Bye-bye.